So I am here with one of my buddies, Thomas Bepko. And Thomas, what's up, brother?
What's up, buddy? I'm super excited, man. Grateful. Thank you.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. I'm glad we finally got to get this together. We're just getting your calendar, my calendar. We're in one of the craziest markets of our lives. And today that we're filming this and doing this on is December 2nd. And so I have to say that because there's no telling by the time this rolls 2 weeks from now where the market's going to be, where our lives are going to be, because I feel like everything's just moving at lightning speed. So thank you for being on today, brother.
Look, man, I told you we're gonna make this happen. I'm really excited, and yeah, it is crazy times, but the two shall pass, and we're gonna keep it moving.
Yes,
We're gonna
sir. Well,
keep it
let me
going.
tell the people who you are, man, and why I wanted you to come on. So you're a father,
Yeah.
you're a husband,
Yes.
you have two boys, right? Am I
Mhm.
right on that?
Yep.
Okay, and you're based out of Connecticut in the East Coast. You and I actually met at an event a year and a half to 2 years ago. The first Forward event when it was only
Yep.
75 people.
The OGs.
And dude, the OGs, right? And it was so cool to meet you. And I walked into a room not knowing anybody, and I walked out of that room with some lifelong friends. You being one of them, man. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to get to know you and watch your growth since that time. So thank you for being on, brother.
Dude, thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man. I told you this is exciting. We did connect, and we stayed in touch through social, right? Like we
Yes,
met at kind of at a social event. We're like boys. We know a lot about each other now through social. We talk all the time in messages, and it's cool, man. And
well,
we're
this is what I always talk about. I mean, so you're in real estate and mortgage. You started off, based out of San Francisco in 2003, but you were also one of the things that really attracted to me to getting to know you was you're a United States Army vet.
yeah.
And first off, dude, thank you for your service. And it's because of guys like you that I'm able to live the life that I'm able to live. So thank you for the sacrifice that you've given
Thank
us.
thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
And you go into it, you're an entrepreneur, you're the CEO of Yellow Brick Real Estate,
Yep.
you're the executive vice president of Total Mortgage. You've now have had 18 years experience in the industry out of
Yep.
Connecticut and New York, that whole area. You're a licensed real estate broker, industry expert. You manage successful mortgage teams. There's people, I think I mentioned this on the podcast I did with you, but there's people that I know in the industry that at one point were in your circle and were like, that's one of the best people to know in the industry. And I'm a West Coast guy, so I don't get a chance to get to know people in that area. But dude, the fact that you're changing lives and inspiring people the way that you have, I just knew that we had to chop this up. Not only that, man, you're just a good person. You're also the
Thanks,
host
man.
of the Thomas Bepko podcast.
Yes,
And
sir.
guys, if you want to find somebody who's extremely entertaining on social media, you can find them on TikTok and Instagram. And I'm going to add in here because you're going to see more of this. And I've seen you start doing this, but you're also a speaker
Mhm.
and a thought leader in the industry. So, Thomas, dude, we're going to chop this up today, man. And I'm excited
Let's
that you're
go.
here.
Let's go. Look, I right now you know, I mean, where do I start? So right now I'm doing everything I can. I'm getting more comfortable on social and speaking. I would love to keep doing that. I spoke last night in the speech. I mean, Chris, I rehearsed this thing for 5 days. It was probably at the font of 14 double space. It was a page and a half, and I was stressing, but I like putting myself in that position because what I was doing it for the charity, and I didn't want to take my eye off the ball. So yeah, the speaking thing I'm really pursuing. I like it. I have performance anxiety. Like I really do. I don't know if that's one thing about me. Like I don't like watching my videos or speaking, but I get like in making myself feel uncomfortable. If that makes any sense. And I keep pushing to do it. So I'm
Well, this
excited
is
for it.
good. This is good because you built a brand around this. And this is important to say because I have stressed and I still stress about, I get nervous coming into this podcast, right? Like, and
Mhm.
you and I are friends. So, when you think about what we do, and I had to do a speech not too long ago, and it was something similar, really short, I stressed over it. Like I was, I rehearsed it several times. And I love that feeling of that nervousness and that fear that comes in. But it's funny you say this because I've seen you on stage through your social media, and you talk about this and you talk about how, you hate watching yourself and you don't want to watch yourself. But dude, I think you're one of the best people to explain this, because that's what everybody is thinking. Everyone is so afraid of being ashamed or being shamed for putting out content, that they're so worried about what everybody's going to think. And you got this guy like you who's a leader. You're a CEO of a real estate company. You're an executive vice president, and you still get nervous about getting live and going on camera. So how do you tell people to get? How do you help people get over that? What do you do to get over it?
It's dude, it's so difficult. It's hard to explain, and I know you experience it. Well, first of all, I've seen you speak, and you kick ass speaking, dude.
Oh,
You're
bro.
great. You did. Remember at your Arizona event? It was great. I flew out for it. I was actually very impressed. I was like, damn, this dude is good, right? Like you're entertaining, you're there. So we have that in common. I like that.
Yeah.
We feed off each other's energy. And for me, it's like, and I learned this in the mortgage business. And I go back to this. I learned a lot in the mortgage business throughout my 18 years. And if I feel kind of uncomfortable about something,
Mhm.
but deep down I know I have to do it, I know that if I get through the uncomfort, the end result is going to pay bet more dividends, if that makes any sense, right? It's going to
Absolutely.
feel better later. Like you always feel better after you do it. You're like, wow, dude, I'm kind of like on cloud nine. I could have changed somebody's life today.
That's
I helped, I raised money. I didn't take my eye off the ball. I
yeah, without
came
a
to
doubt.
add my value, right? So you have to think about the end result and the reason why you're doing it. And for me, sometimes I just like to face fear, bro. Like I just like to just face it head on, because if I sit around and wait for it, it's not going to get done. So I might as well just do it and get it over with. And
This is so true. So I'll tell you this, and in fact, I have when we stop this, I got to go shoot content, and one of the pieces I'm doing is around fear
no,
and really stepping into it. Like every time you're fearful or you get that anxiety in the back of your throat where you're like, I don't want to do this,
I hate it,
and
dude.
you right, you hate it, but that's when you lean in. And see, I
You,
think that's the difference. I coach a lot of loan officers, and I always tell loan officers, like, the moment you you're fearful of something, that's your cue to step into it, to lean into it. Dude, I used to say this all the time. Absolutely hate doing events. I hate doing events because then I'm the one that's stuck with the coordination, getting people to the event. I don't want to do anything. What do? I go do the breakthrough event, right?
yep,
Like, and you showed up and trusted me enough to come and spend a day with us, to get information, and it was like one of the best things that I ever did. But I hated it. I said it. I hate cold calling people. I do it every day. I call because I need to make connections with people. So I think the advice that we're giving the listener and the people that are out there listening to this is, you have to face fear, and the difference between the people who are winning versus the people who are not winning are those that are just leaning into it and getting it done. Thomas, tell me where your life has gone. Take the market out of it, right? Take like what's happened with the cyclical market, just with your brand. From the moment you went to the forward event, what has changed for the first forward event? What has changed for you and how you've kind of approached content and building your brand since then? Because you have a bigger following, people know who you are.
yep.
What changed for you in that regard?
I feel the quality of my community has gotten deeper, if that makes any sense. Like I have more quality. I don't have tens of thousands of followers, but I have a community that I speak with, that I engage with regularly, that come to me if they need information or questions or keep connections. And those connections that I've met through social media, since forward, since connecting with you, since meeting with Neil. I mean, I had Renee Rodriguez on my podcast last week,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Like that was big for me. I met him at the first event we went to. I believe he was at Forward. He's been
yeah.
around. I've seen him speak. My cousin took his course. I've made and I've deepened my connections,
That's
especially with leaders in the mortgage business or the real estate business.
yeah, dude.
Now,
Right?
we put this out on my social media presentation. It's like, look, it's not, I'm not gonna get what's my ROI on my social? It's not. It's the amount of connections I can connect with. And then it's up to me if I want to do business with them, add value, show value, create a friendship. It's opened up a world, and it just keeps getting bigger by the day.
Thomas, are you getting business from your social media today?
Absolutely.
So is it
Absolutely.
so do you think it's crazy for people to shy away from it and say like, "Hey, that's just not for me. I'm a word of mouth. I'm a, whatever." Do you think how do you change somebody's mind who's afraid of leaning into social media? Because you and I, and you've said this just like I have, like I don't love doing this every day, right? It's to me, it's I gotta figure out ways that I can touch people in the masses and for cheap. Like I can make 500 calls a day, but if I can get 500 people to look at my content, boom, right? Like I've just gotten in their
And your
head.
content's rolling while you sleep too,
That's
right?
it. Yes.
Because there, I mean, look, social does so much. It's done so much. And I'm still novice. I've posted what 3.5 years. I've got a podcast. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, my email list. I'm marketing the hell out of myself. Probably 2,500 videos, 3,000 videos at least. And I'm learning every video every day.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is you got to ask yourself, especially right now for the new loan officer. And when I consider new, less than 5 years, less than 8 years, you've got to book a business, but it's going down a little bit. Is how bad do you want it?
How
Right?
bad?
What are you willing to do to get to where you want to be in anything in life? Me, I'm going to give 150% in everything. That's just the way I am. You know, um, I understand. I've seen the value. I've tasted the value. I've seen people's careers take off through social,
Mhm.
and I know I can do it. And how bad do I want it? Look, I can look, smile and dial, baby. That's how I learned the mortgage business. I can reach 150, 200 people a day sitting in my hole and banging the hook, right? But on social, if I have 3,000 people, 4,000 followers, I'm posting a video that is valuable. It's educating,
Yep.
right? It's inspiring, and if whatever my content pillar is, and I have a chance to make a connection faster than I can smiling and dialing. But I
Well,
still
I'll tell you
I
this.
still cold call every day.
You
I
okay,
still
so
cold
yeah,
call,
I'll
so
say
I'm
this.
with you.
So how often have you cold call or let me ask it a different way. Or tell you a different way. Like I've cold called people and they'll say, "Dude, I saw your stuff." And because of that reason, they're taking the meeting with me or they're connecting with me, right? But my conversion
Trusting your brand,
skyrocketed, right? Or I call somebody, I'm like, "Hey, you on Facebook? Yeah, I'm gonna friend you," you know, um, and then they'll call me
check
back
me
and
out.
say like, "Bro, I like your content," and now we're talking because they shut me down, and then they got to know me a little bit, and now they're talking to me. Hey, are you seeing that happen with your stuff?
For sure. And you'd be surprised how you can get to know somebody through their social media, making a connection and direct messaging. Right. Following somebody, connecting with them, messaging with them, and getting to know somebody. I mean, that's how it works. Like you're not just gonna get, a bunch of leads or a bunch of people saying, "Hey, I want to purchase a home right away." Right. You've got to stay in front of them. You've got to show your value. You got to know what you're talking about. They have to connect with your brand. Right. But not every connection, you can't connect with everybody, right? Not everybody's going to love your brand, but you'll be able, social media, you'll be able to connect with the people that like your brand, and the people that don't like your brand, they can unfollow you,
So true.
and
So true.
that's, you're just building your own, I'm building my own dream, dude, like, I don't know, fuck it.
I love
I'm all in. How bad do I want it?
well, no, this is
You got to ask yourself
where
every day.
well, I'll give you a really good example of this. So, if for those of you that don't know Thomas, and I hope that you get a chance to look at his stuff and get to know the guy, but I met Thomas, and you cannot avoid him in a room. You know he's in a room. He changes the room the moment he walks in. He has energy. And to me, that's 90% of the game, right? If you can walk into a room and build brand immediately, then your money, right? I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, and so it's no surprise that you're extremely successful. I will tell you this.
Thanks,
I
man.
totally judged you. I was like, this dude is partier, right? Because you were like, what are you gonna
Oh,
do afterwards? What are you gonna go? What do you got going on, right? And I was like, this dude, like, I can't hang with this dude. He's like going and I was afraid to hang out with you, right? Because I'm like, this guy's on a level of party that I don't even know. And then
yeah.
to your point about getting to know you through social media, you made this post about being sober for how long you've been sober, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I thought this dude, because you were like, "Hey, where are you at? We're gonna grab dinner somewhere, whatever. Let's meet afterwards." And I was like, I was afraid because I thought that you were a big partier, and I completely,
Yeah.
misread this. And I was so proud to hear that you were putting that out there. You took a vulnerable, personal piece of information and you put it out
Yeah.
there. And two questions. One, how did your audience respond to that? And two, tell me about that journey, man. Like, if it's not too personal, I would love to hear, because there's somebody listening right now that is probably struggling, that needs to hear that you have been able to change your life and be one of the most social people without parting.
So, well, thank you for the kind words. And yeah, sometimes people either love me or hate me. They don't get me right away. Like you're full experience that. I mean, look, for me, right, drinking was my downfall. I came from lineage of alcoholism. Drugs weren't my thing. Like it was more just I was a straight liquor, bro, like booze, like a booze hound. And I didn't I look, I thought I knew everything, drinking and partying. I was the life of the party. Like you see how I am now is the same way. I was just like drunk, outgoing, loud, maybe obnoxious, whatever. And you know, alcoholism was my downfall. I couldn't I couldn't get around it, and 2007, 2008, like people could blame the market. Oh, it's not your fault. The market was down, right? Like I was doing mortgage 2008. That was the beginning of my getting reborn. And I'm actually grateful for everything I went through, because I would not be where I am today without what I had learned through the struggles, through the sobriety. I mean, I was I was a dressed up mess, and I hit a financial, spiritual, bottom in 2009. And it took me a while to get through that, but through Alcoholics Anonymous, some people don't break their anonymity. Some people don't talk about it. For me, I want to help. Like I can't keep what I don't give away. So kind of my thing is I like helping the guy get with his back against the wall that kind of needs some help and needs some direction, especially putting the booze down or the drugs, because if I didn't do that, I would not be a husband today. I would not be a father today. I would not be CEO of my dream company, that real estate brokerage. I would not be where I am at the mortgage company in my career. And it's funny is all I had to do, bro, was not drink. But you couldn't have told me that, because every time my mother would tell me, she'd be like, dude, every time you drink, you get in trouble. Every time you drink, you get in trouble. I'm like, nah, yeah, right. I'm fine. I can handle it. And the alcohol got the best of me. And God willing, I got 13 years in March. So I'm
Congratulations.
pretty far away from a drink now. Thanks, bro. I'm
So,
pretty far away from a drink.
such a good way of putting you're so far away from a drink. But I gotta ask this question, because this is a fascinating
For
story.
sure.
You're saying that your ending of drinking and putting down the bottle was right around the same time of a financial crisis that we were all sitting in, or was it timing wise, what was a catalyst that was like, okay, this is it, I gotta bounce out of this.
So I look, as the market got worse, I think it was just a bigger excuse for me to drink in 2007, 2008. I was at a subprime company, right? We made it a little bit. They went out of business. Then I ended up going to a larger, like, Alte FHA lender. I moved back to New York I was in California. I started my mortgage career in California,
Yep.
and I ended up back east with a New York company that had a California operations. And then they moved me home because they were closing California. We were staying in the hub. Long story short is, every time I just wasn't mentally or spiritually prepared for the financial crisis. Along came with the financial, spiritual relationships. I mean, there were so many things. It was just, that was my time to, I had to, sometimes you have to hit a bottom to realize. And they talk about this, and I'm not going to get preacher on you, but there's, in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a chapter, and there's a portion of the chapter that's got this saying. It's got a lot of these cliche sayings, and it said, only in the last analysis is where he may be found. And they believe in AA that you have to find spirituality and a power greater than yourself, or the alcohol, to get sober. And for me, that was meaning letting go of the ego, letting go of I know everything. And for me, the guy who's always talking and loud and has an answer for everything, it was very hard for me to shut up and like listen and get humble. And
Mhm.
it was Look, dude, it was the most difficult, but the best thing in my life, man. I have my family because of it. I have my wife. I have my career back. Like I was worthless, dude, in the bottle. That I can tell you. So all
That
I had to do was put down the bottle. And for those who struggle, right? I mean, look, we have a financial crisis right now. Loan officers are making
that's
less
why I
money
was
than they
asking
made
the
the last
question.
couple of
Yes.
years. And for me, look, I know a lot of guys in the mortgage business that love to party. They love to drink, and you don't have to do that. I know it feels good and I know it temporarily kills the pain, but it never, for me, it just never did anything good to drink over my problems. Like right now, you face it. You got an issue, you prospect, you work harder, you dial harder, you do another video, you post another story, you send out another email, you make another call, right? Like I had to switch my mindset and do a 180.
Yeah.
And I used to call it a 360. And I'm like, well, no, a 360, it's not
Puts you right
360.
back
We
to
back
right.
where we started. You got to do a 180. And I didn't realize that till like sober. You got to do a fucking 180.
Yeah.
And all looking back, man, it was quite the ride. But dude, I'm forever, dude. I'm so grateful.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
not like I don't hate alcohol. Dude, I don't understand how my wife could just have like a half a glass of wine and like have a good time. Like that wasn't me.
Yeah.
But I just, for me, it just doesn't work. I'll do anything else. I have a better chance of flying to the moon in my brand new Red Wings than I do of controlling my drinking. So I just accepted that and I don't drink.
I'm mad respect for that. I mean, because here's why. I mean, every time I do a podcast, I always am looking for that one individual who who might be suffering in silence. And I always say this, like, to my guests before we come in, this is, we really want to touch you, whether it's 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And can you imagine if old Thomas was listening to you today in the midst of what I would call, this is a fucking crisis. We are in a crisis in the housing, right? Whether you want to believe it or not, when 4 trillion dollars of market share, our market goes away and is now 1.5 for the entire industry, people are hurting, people are making less. It's the holidays. Here's what I found with for me personally with drinking was, I used to drink. I used to polish off like a bottle a night, like I mean, of wine. Like I always started off with like I'm going to drink 2 glasses, with dinner, and then everybody would go to sleep, and then I'd finish the bottle, and then I was like cranky in the morning. It never made me feel better the next day. And somebody said, made a comment about this, and it really is now. I'll drink in very like there'll be wide gaps of when I'll have a drink. But when somebody said, that they were driving home one day on a Friday, I want to say it was like a billionaire. He said he was driving home one day, and the reason he stopped drinking was because on the way home, his mind was consumed with which bottle of wine he was going to have. Like, am I going to have this one? Am I going to have that one? What am I, and then what am I going to pair it with? And he was like, once he just stopped drinking, he just was like, I was able to get my time back, like with whether it was a hangover or whether it was obsessing about which drink you're going to have, or all those things. Did you go through that process of feeling like a big relief once you've accepted, I'm not doing it anymore, all that time you got back? Did or was it
So,
a struggle of you're thinking about it and you're trying to bury that thought? Well, how did it work for you?
so the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous is accepting the fact that your life has become unmanageable. So if you're trying to control it, it's out of control, right? And be being able to accept that. And that was the toughest part for me. Like when I'm telling you, like I wasn't an everyday drinker. I was a party. I was life of the party. I went out. I was hungover. I'd wake up. I still went to work. I'd feel like crap. And then when I started my journey to sobriety, like trying to find a spiritual experience, trying to find a higher power, trying to not drink a minute at a time, my alcoholism, my disease progressed, dude. I started drinking every day, bro. Like I would end up like in a different institution or like get locked up for drunk in public, blacked out. I never imagined myself doing that. And that was my father, my alcoholic father, who killed himself drinking. And I said I didn't want to drink because it didn't look like that or be like my dad. And long story short, bro, I was going right down that fucking path and I didn't realize it, like faster than he did. And I was like, whoa, like I don't know what to do. So all I had to do is I had to realize that for me, alcoholism was a disease in the mind. It's the obsession to drink, like you said, the obsession thinking about the next drink. And in order to get rid of the obsession, I'd have to remove it or get it removed. And they say, and it happened for me, that if you find a higher power, your obsession to drink will be removed. So if you never have the obsession, you won't have the compulsion to keep drinking. Right. So when you obsess, you finally drink and you get the compulsion. When you start, you can't stop. That was me. If I popped, I couldn't stop. You know, one beer led into 2 bottles, and then it led into just drinking brown stuff as fast as we can to a nip in the morning. I used to call it a steady. Like, and dude, this all happened in like 6 months, dude. I went from fucking 0 to 100 real fast.
And it's hard to
And,
know until you step out of it and look at it like from, a
yeah,
different lens. And I talk about this a lot. And I was actually reading a book, Ed Milet's book, talked about habits and why, like if you always got to look at your habits. And so if I celebrate by having a drink, but then the next day I'm crap, then I got to change that habit, right? Like, you did the habits. I think what he said is show me your habits and I'll show you your life. And if you have bad habits, you got to change those. And what you're talking about is these habits turned into a way of life for you. And you at some
yeah.
point just had to make a change and had to really surrender and say, I can't control this anymore. And when you did,
And it sounds so easy. That's what you do. You accept it. You're like, dude, I can't do it anymore. I am cooked. But it's so out of control that I can't control it. Therefore, they call it no human power. Nobody could save you but God at that point. Only in the last analysis where he may be found. Dude, I grew up Catholic. I wasn't a Catholic school guy. I just didn't like church. I went to CCD. I did all my sacraments. It's not that God, right? It wasn't that God. That was hard.
yeah.
It's like, dude, just as long as it's not the bottle of vodka I'm praying to every day, something else, I have faith that the bottle is going to kill the pain, right? The bottle is going to get rid of my pain, the market, all blah, blah, blah. I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink. But what I needed to do was remove this, accept it, pray for help, and it went away. And it fucking, once it turned, I have to constantly do my faith. I pray every day, right? I go through my night. I live life as honest as possible, bro. And when you lie, you get sick. And when I was not in a good place, when I was drinking in the morning, like fucking broken bankruptcy, like it was bad. And I
So
didn't want to ever live like that. And I saw what it did to my dad. So I was like, fuck this, dude. I'm breaking this cycle, dude.
it's amazing how
Show me the way.
it's amazing how, like at times in life we, and this happens for a lot of people, but they look at their family or their parents or their father or their mother and they say, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to, turn into them. And then you look 20 years later and they have become their parents, right?
Yeah.
Like my dad was a sales guy. I'm a sales guy, right? Like, and it wasn't like something I ever wanted to do. In my head, I was like, I'm not going to do what my dad does, but then turned out I'm doing exactly what he's doing, right? Which is crazy. But for you, you were like, I'm not going to do it. And then you ended up right there, but you figured out a way to break the cycle. And, you know, were your kids alive? Were your kids born by the time you were in this, or did they come
No,
afterwards?
no.
So this
My children will never see me drink.
amazing.
This was me single, no wife. I was introduced to AA early,
Okay, good.
right? God willing. So I think in the back of my hand, I knew that there was a way out, but it was a tough road. And for me, AA may not be the only way to quit drinking, but I don't know another way.
And it doesn't
I
matter
tried them all.
as long as you've
I tried
got,
them all. And
dude, I'm so proud of your story, man.
yeah,
I
as
mean,
long as that worked for me, that's my story. And thanks, man.
no, I mean seriously, Thomas. I mean, like the fact that
Anybody
you're sharing
struggling, dude,
that,
there is a way out.
yeah, dude. So Thomas, I mean, from here, you got sober, the market eventually shifts. And then tell me about your journey. I mean,
Yep.
when, you go back, well, how did you go from you're a remarkable person because you're one of the few people or one of the I'll tell everybody, don't do this. And you've done it successfully is you work both sides of the fence as a lender and as a real estate, broker and doing it phenomenally well. How did you get into this? How did
That
you
was tough too.
both of them?
I'll tell you. So when I was in California, I grew up in Connecticut in the New York metro area, moved to California, went to the military and stayed in the West Coast, did my career. I had to get sober. I came home and went to a detox, right? I had a job. I was like working. I was already licensed in 2010. I had my NMLS in 2010, but I ended up moving home to the New York company and I never went back. And I had to go once I got out of once I got sober, like got 2 weeks in me, 3 weeks. I got the job at Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo had just purchased Wachovia on the East Coast. So
You were
Wells
selling
Fargo started
days.
popping up, and I remember I was driving. My mother was driving me. I was probably like 26, 27. And I was interviewing. I'm like, I'm not going back to California. I'm like, I got Prospect Mortgage. I have Wells Fargo. And I'm like, there's a Wells Fargo here. I got out of the car, Chris, with my resume. And I went in and I said, who's the general sales manager here at Wells Fargo? And Wells, this was a time at 2010, Wells was the place to be because after that, we had like a refi boom. I remember it was crazy. But long story short, Wells Fargo really taught me purchase. I was there for 9-10 months. That's all I lasted at a corporate job at a bank. They made me wear a tie every day. It just wasn't good. But what I did is I learned purchase. And I learned that I was always a lead guy. And if I had a good lead source, that pre-approval that came to me first is like gold.
Yes.
So I ended up making my career buying leads, not to obviously to pre-approve a client, but just get somebody to give to my referral partners.
Yes.
Right. So I was able to generate the lead, have the lead come to us. And then I was like, dude, I'm just getting my real estate license because if I'm getting 2 million a month from this guy, 500,000 from this guy, it's costing me X. And I'm like, well, I can just get my license, have a team and feed my team leads. And it's morphed into our affiliate Yellow Brick. We now have, 100 agents. We do
100 agents.
So look, I moved home pretty humbling. Like I felt like I was a failure. I was an alcoholic, right? Going through a lot of these emotions. And I had to come back to where I grew up because I had a support system. And dude, I mean, I joined the army to get out of where I grew up. I couldn't stand it here. Like I got out, I joined the military, get me out. I don't want to be here. I went as far as possible. I ended up coming back like a dog with my tail in between my legs, begging for help. And it's the only place I could stay sober. So I got my shit together and I said, you know what, dude, I learned this at Wells Fargo. This could actually work, right? I could generate a lead. Mm-hmm. And like, look, we're all chasing agents. We're all chasing the same agent. And I got to a point where I was giving a pre-approved, ready, willing, and able client to an agent. They would close. And then I was never like getting anything in return. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. Sorry. Like, it's all good. Like it was risky for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it was super risky because I didn't want to compete with my peers, but I wasn't getting enough business. And in retrospect, it was super difficult, but it was probably the best thing I did for my career, bro.
Oh, absolutely.
I became a better loan officer when I became broker because now I can explain to my loan officer team really why the agent needs that communication, really why they understand what the agent's going through by trying to keep the deal together with 20 different people involved in the transaction because the agent gets a better relationship with the client. They spend more time with them, right? So the agent is our key here, and why would I shut myself off to the key or the keys?
So do you feel like, I mean, obviously it's helped you, but how does it help you with your relationship with your loan officers having the broker license or having the broker company? And then how does that impact your agents for having the loan side of it? I mean, is it,
I don't compete with them. I offer value, right? I offer my LOs relationships with my agents. I offer my agents ways to make money using leads, events, right? Coaching, right? I offer value. I have to value every day. Like I work around the clock. My side hustle, I got 2 side hustles. It's called mortgage and real estate. But in essence,
and you're an investor, no doubt as well, right?
I do. And I love I love the single family investing. Let's just look my wheelhouse. When I
Yeah.
became broker, I really started admiring that, especially like in my neighborhoods. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
It's just one of those things I like doing. And dude, I hate contracting or construction. My grandfather was a janitor and he raised me and he forced me to use tools. I hate it. I don't, it's just that part of my brain didn't work,
Yeah.
but I understand it now through getting beat down and
Having to lean
losing
into
money.
it. Yeah.
I mean, you know how you lose in construction. You know how you win, and you know how you lose. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, but dude, I don't know, man. I owe it all to my sobriety, bro. Like, I'll just
Good.
I'll be dead up, like as honest as possible. Like, I wouldn't have any of this if I was drinking.
Well, this is an
That's my
interesting
point.
thing, man, because I feel like I unleashed something with you. Do you normally talk about this?
Yeah, dude. I don't like. Look, I'm an open book. Like I
I
told
believe
you, like
it.
I'll tell you anything. You want me to? You want to know something? People as Alcoholics Anonymous, that anonymity piece, people don't like to talk about it because they don't want to be discriminated against. Me, I don't
You're
care.
who you are.
I mean,
I'm proud of it.
they don't want me to drink in here, Chris. You know what I'm saying? They don't want me to drink in here, right? Like, you don't want me to drink. You don't ask me why I'm not drinking. Like, you can, I'll tell you, because I used to say, because when you first get sober, it's like you have to learn how to like be at a bar, at a restaurant. Like, it's not easy, especially for somebody who drank their whole life to not drink,
So many
right? And
cheaters out there.
yeah, and I'm like, well, like, you know what? And people are like, well, why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? Like, it's usually the guy that I should be helping is curious why I'm not drinking the whole night, right? So, and I used to say, there's a saying, you say, I'm allergic. I break out in handcuffs,
That's a good
right?
one. That's
Like,
so
dude, yeah, I'm allergic. You're like, really? You're allergic? Yeah, I break out in handcuffs, dude. I drink, I'm gonna get arrested.
yeah.
So just don't drink. And they're like,
Such
what?
a good
I'm
point.
like, yeah, well, you asked.
Such
So
a good point. So Thomas, tell me, like, I got so many questions for
yeah,
you.
I'm in, dude. I'm
And
in.
just right now, because you're in the thick of it. You're you and I were talking the other day just about what how loan officers are feeling right now, and how crazy the market is. Now we're in the holidays, and you're where there's snow, right? Like, I'm lucky because I'm 75 degrees right now, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
About 20 today. So I know. Got the
so
flannel on. I got the big jacket with the faux fur on it. It's
yes.
getting cold, dude.
Yeah, dude. So, we have weather on our side, but you're dealing with, I'm sure applications are lighter than they've ever been. Real estate's
Yeah.
slowing down in your market. So, what do you tell your team? Like, what are the three things they should be doing right now to really continue to build and, get out of their head around what's happening in the market and continue to win?
What did you do today to invest in your personal brand? Because I feel that your personal brand right now is going to take you places that cold calling can't, like we just said.
Yeah.
So, what did you do for your personal brand today? Right? Did you make your calls? Did you post your videos? Did you email? Did you shoot? Right?
Yeah.
And then, secondly, is what I have to do every day is I have to wake up and I have to provide value. Now, being broker and loan officer, like I wanted I've always wanted this relationship with realtors that I have being their broker,
Mhm.
but it's a lot different now. It's a lot deeper. It's just a different relationship. And I'm super grateful for it. And I'm learning every day. But I have to prove more value now as their broker and their leader, right? And a loan officer. Even if look, my team, I don't make them give us deals. I don't force them. It's about helping the client. And if I am not proving enough value for you to reciprocate and give me business, what right do I have to ask for it? So what I say is when they're sitting around like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Well, we have prospecting tools. I know I can give you a million things, a way to prospect, what content to do, whatever you want to do. What did you do today?
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you sit here and bitch about how your mortgage application, you're down 50%, you're not making as much money? Or did you take that negativity and you got to channel it? I would get mad on the phones. I would just smile and down. I would go help somebody. And my daily goal is you got to get a deal a day. You got to help somebody a day.
Yeah.
Don't leave the office till you help somebody. Get a pre-approval. Right. And then within that, you've got the prospecting tools. I can show you a million of them, how to go and help somebody. So that's where I go to. I love when they bring that up because that's a daily fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's daily. Yeah. What do you say? What do you say? Tell me, tell
Oh,
me what
dude, I mean, right now, I'm like, there's so many options. Like, I get real tactical with them. Like, you're not posting. I try to give you as much value to post as possible. Like we just had right before I jumped on this with you, we did a deal with Barry Habib and Neil Dingra was actually on a call for the whole company, and we left
Really?
for realtors as well. And I'm like, everybody was like, well, we need to email it out. I'm like, no, you need to call every realtor in your market and invite them over to your office and you need to get them on, right? And they need to watch this with you because when they leave and they're smarter about the market, they're smarter about content, they're going to remember who taught them. And it was you. You were sitting next to them. You're the person that's delivering them the information that they need to go out and be more successful.
Yes.
And so, it was, so my point is we as leaders, I'm always looking for ways that we can help the loan officer have an excuse to pick up the phone and call and prospect. And like you said, there's a million ways to prospect, right? But I'll give a couple of others. Like if people are actually doing content, you know, it's all about eyeballs, right? And how can you get the most eyeballs? And so one of the things is like take all of your content and start blogging. Just transcribe them and get them into a blog and get yourself more SEO. So you're found, you're getting found more. And LinkedIn has some really cool newsletter tools, and you
Mm.
can do Mailchimp as well. And so we're testing out like just getting and then also you have a database, you have your CRM, so then
Yeah.
take that same message and then blast it to every realtor and every customer you've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So now they're seeing you on social, now they're seeing you in a newsletter, they open up their feed, they're getting it everywhere, and then once a month actually send them an actual letter or a gift and then call them every Monday and every Friday and let them know you're working and you're going to be available. And then call them on Monday and say, anybody I can help you with that you connected with over the weekend. And like clockwork, you're just like, boom, boom, boom. And you're just like, it's all about creating that brand and connection. And then, there's the broker opens and there's all these things, right, that you can do. And so my job really, and I'm sure this is where you're at as well, is like, how do we help the person that's stuck become unstuck? But the bottom line is you have to try. You have to show up. If you're working, 10 o'clock, you're rolling in and you're bouncing by, going to lunch for an hour and
You're
a half
out by 2.
by 2, it's not going to work. Not in this market, bro. It's not going to work.
Well, a lot of what we did when when rates, when I say we, I was like, look, as a loan officer, look, when
Yep.
rates are 3%, we're digital and we're in our home office, right? Phones ringing from left and right because everybody's applying. Great. And we had relationships. We're a new LO, we're an old LO with our book of business. Our phone was ringing no matter what. Now, phone's not ringing. Right. So you got to smile and dial. You got to go make your own connections. Me, I never was able to hang around and waiting for my phone ring. I wasn't going to wait for an agent to send me a deal. Right. I wasn't going to wait for my phone to ring. I'm me. I just got to be proactive. And the more proactive I am, and the more people I can help and use the different tools and the technology and the CRM and the
Absolutely.
scripts. I mean, it's endless. And I don't know. I'm super passionate about it. There's so many ways to do it. And like, I'm just the guy, I'll sit here and I'll do it. I took leads today. I mean, I was calling people back. Like, it's great,
Well, that's it.
because
I
you
mean,
have
like,
to do it.
I think what happens is, people get paralyzed by what's happening, right? So let's kind of, play it out for those that are listening that don't understand, what Thomas is talking about. When we went into a COVID environment, when the pandemic happened, the markets just went bonkers. And every day nobody knew what was going on. It slowed down and then it ramped up really fast because rates hit an all-time low, lower than they've ever been. And it really was somewhat of a disadvantage for loan officers because a lot of people entered the industry because we needed help. There wasn't enough people in the industry to handle the volume.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it changed in a blink of an eye. In the history of mortgage that I've been in this, and I've been in it for 20 plus years, I've never seen a market turn as fast as it did. We are more
And
than double.
can I just touch on this because every time there's a big swing like this too, I'm like, we've never seen a swing like this. And they just keep getting bigger, like the
Yes.
drop and then this, and now it went back down last week. Like, it's, when Renee actually, we talked about this in my podcast last week. Renee Rodriguez is like, he checked me with it. He goes, well, you got to think about, in 2008, I was that 5-6 year loan officer, 7-year loan officer that never really saw the market turn like this. So what was I? I was full of fear, right?
Yes.
I was full of ego. Me, I had my own personal issues, and the drinking came into play, and that didn't happen. But for the loan officer now, like, you have to have faith. Like, this is gonna pass. Take it from your leaders, who Chris Medellin, who's been in the business 20 years, myself, 19 years in the business. We've been through it, but I wanted to put myself in the loan officer's position who's never been through a swing like this. So, I mean, honestly, I would have been scared shitless, but they have to have faith, and they have to know that this is what they want to do, and how bad do they want this career right now. It's just a true test. If you want this career, this is what you need to do. There are tools. You can make money. You're going to make money. You're not going to die, but you got to work. And
Absolutely. I mean, look, there right now, as we say this, there is somebody that needs your help. There
yes,
is somebody right now who needs your help. And you know what? They don't know how to find you.
go for
They
it.
don't know how to find you because you're not posting, you're not calling, you're not doing anything. And
How did
guess
you
what?
connect with them?
No one else will if you don't. And that's how people are getting squeezed out. And so, you have to really take in account, like, how inconvenienced and how uncomfortable are you willing to get in order to win?
Yep.
Because there is somebody right now that needs your help, and it's up to you to find them. Or
Somebody's going to do whatever it takes to get that business. So if you're
or
not
you can
willing
go to
to do
lunch.
whatever it takes,
You can go to
you're not
lunch
going
for
to
an
do
hour
it.
and a half. You can go to
And you're
lunch.
going home. You got the sports. You got the kids' games after and 3, and then next thing you know, you're getting back to your calls on Thursday.
Yeah.
But guess what? The real information, real fast right now. The faster you get real information back to somebody, the better your chances are going to be to help them. So,
Well, so Thomas, like walk me through this. So you're not just, some guy sitting in an office every day, wearing a suit,
no.
pushing out reports, right? You're a street guy. And I heard you say the other day, you did a post about why you drive the car that you drive. And it was because it's basically your office. You're in the car all the time making dials. So tell me what your day looks like on any given day. And when do you start to prospect, and how does that work for you?
It's a great question. So, look, I'm super active, right? So I have to work out. I either train jujitsu or I work out first thing in the morning. Well, if my wife, it depends. My wife goes first. My wife will work out first. We're early risers, 5:36. We work out. She'll go for her 45, then I'll go, right? Come back. I mean, I try and stay away from my phone before like 6:37. I try and get through my coffee, spend little time with my wife early in the morning on the cross when she's going and I'm going. And but as soon as I pick up my phone, I'm right on it. The first thing I do, like I said, is I have to prove value. I have to show my value to my leaders. So I reach out to my leaders first, right? My branch
Really?
managers, my team leads, right? The
How do you
president
do
of
that? How do you do that?
a lot of text, a lot of voice text, but I like to call, right?
Yeah.
The message. I'm an old school phone word guy. My strong suit. I like being on the phone, so I can make a better connection via phone call than a text. And a lot of times it's just check in. What do we got? If are there any hot points that I've got to deal with corporate getting deals done, right? Because I'm like the get shit done director on the
Yeah.
mortgage side,
Yeah. I love
right?
that.
What we deal with, whether that's file issues, whether it's, client issues, or it's getting the deal done on time, or it's going too fast, whatever it is, I have to be there to help the client get in the house. The client that's getting in the house closest is kind of like where I'm working. And
That's it.
then following up with my leaders and making sure. Then for me, I shoot, right? I got to focus on stories, right? So I have to time block my shot time. So if I'm doing my TJB stuff, which is my own personal brand,
Mhm.
or I have the yellow brick stuff, right? So my content, whether I got my stories, I deal with my marketing to Nicole and Alex and my cousin Alexandra all day, considering
Yeah.
my leaders. And I go to like, what should I post? Do I need to do any stories today? Like, what did I do between 6:30 a.m. till 9:30 now, where I don't want to post a story. I'm deep in the trenches. I don't want to get on and do something on social media, but guess what? How bad do I want to have an opportunity to make another connection, to help change somebody's life? So I got to force myself to do a story. Look at myself in the damn camera. I don't like doing it. I don't like the way I look. I'm scared shitless, but I still do it, and I post it, and I try not to watch it.
Nice.
By this time, it's probably 11. Honestly, like I bring my lunch, I pack my lunch,
Yep.
and then I'm either in the offices. I travel to the branches. I travel to the branches for loan officers, travel to the branches for the agents, same thing as you. And, I'm on the road all day. A lot of times now, mortgage and real estate is so digital. My reports are at the palm of my hand. So yes, in between, I'm looking at my reports, stopped in my car, read my reports. I get my reports emailed, and I look in the app and make sure. So everything is real time.
No, I love that. I think leaders in the mortgage industry need to hear this, because I'm always looking for ways to add value. Like, because you and I both know this, that in our industry, loan officers and leaders vote with their shoes. They go walk to another company if they don't like what's going on.
Right.
And so a lot of what you and I are dealing with is poachers that are trying to steal our people. Right now, as we talk, there's a recruiter calling our guys,
Oh,
right? Like all day, every
with the
day,
sign-on bonus.
right? With big sign-on bonuses. And so people will stay or they will go based on the value that leaders provide.
Of
And
course.
a lot of leaders don't provide value, but you said something that I got to give you a shout out to, because I don't think a lot of people do it. In fact, I'm going to start doing it because of this conversation. But starting your day with, I always write down, who can I add value to?
Yep.
But I think you have to have a bench of, I need to add value to this group of people, and those are our leaders, those are our direct reports. And then from there, it's who else can I add value to? And I think that switch over will help not only build stronger relationships, but that's how you can add massive value. And I think that leaders need to know that. I mean, if you're a leader listening to this podcast, you should be starting your day connecting with your leaders the way Thomas does, and so much so that I will start doing that as well.
What should look like? Anybody could sit on a desk and tell people what to do. Right. For me, and look, being a loan officer or being a real estate agent or a broker, it's a rare breed. We're salespeople. We're 100% commission. Right. It's, I have to fit in each little value prop I have with each different leader. It's different, and you have to navigate that, and you have to know your team. And dude, I love what I do. Like I have a passion, right? And that's where I start. Like I'm grateful for the opportunity I have, right? I'm grateful for everything I have, and I'm grateful not even to be able not to drink a day at a time, And if I can start with the little stuff, the simple stuff, the big stuff I'll work through. The big stuff I'll be able to work through. I'll be able to keep pushing, or I'll be able to add value, or, like we have the uncomfortable conversations, those happen every 30 minutes, and you have to be resilient. You have to have faith for me. And it's, you got to have a lot of traits, man. Hats off to, because I know what you go through, I know what you go through on a daily basis, and I wouldn't change it for the world though. Like I love what I do. I
Absolutely,
love the
same here.
challenges. I love helping. I love the challenge. I get paid to help people. Sounds good
Dude,
to me.
I have never, I am so lucky. Like I hear people that talk about how they don't like what they do or they don't like their jobs. And I'm just so lucky because every day there's a puzzle to fix. There's
Yeah.
something to help. And at the end of the day, and where that leads to, it leads to stronger relationships. It leads to people getting into homes that they never thought that they can get into. It's changing people's lives, and we have the opportunity to really make impact.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do this business, I want to be able to make impact. And so,
Sure.
dude, I got to tell you, man, real quickly, side question, because I didn't touch on it earlier. How old were you when you lost your dad?
3 years ago.
Just 3 years ago, man.
But my father, he was a bum, like on the street through alcohol. And like when you see movies of like the worst type of alcohol, I was like, this was him. I don't know how he lived. I tried to save him my whole life. Finally, and I was like, dude, like I'm like, you saw me get sober. My dad I had a good when I so you have to when you go through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'll tell you this, you have to make amends. You make amends to everybody you hurt that hurt you. You got to clean your side of the street. And one of the most touching, powerful moments I had when you say you get sober and you have these spiritual experiences, when you start getting rid of this guilt and relinquishing power, right? I sat my dad down, and I did an amends. And I was the son, dude, And my father was an abusive alcoholic, bro. I forgave him. You know, I had a good when my 9-year-old Daniel was born with my ex. So I have my 9-year-old, my ex Christina, and I have my 3-year-old Cole with my wife Lila. And Daniel was born, and I'm like, dude, I'm like trying to get sober. I had just got through my bankruptcy. Like, I didn't know, I didn't fucking know what to do, bro. Like, I didn't know. I put down the booze. I filed bankruptcy. I was 30 years old. I was making money, but I didn't realize everything like kind of hit me quick. And when I sat my dad down, I did the amends. My dad had like really like tried to be a father. Like he had stopped drinking, but my father was so sick from alcoholism. Like you can't when you drink too much, the withdrawals can kill you.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
not many drugs you can die from withdrawals. Alcohol withdrawal, you can. Heroin, you feel like you're gonna, but you can't. Coke and all that stuff, like you can die from those withdrawals. But alcoholism was, I experienced it. It was the worst. And my dad was really trying not to drink. Like I saw it in his face, and he couldn't do it without the same way I got sober was booze, but was God. But he really tried. And I found out just those few weeks and months that I had with my dad, bro. This was 10 years ago. It's sober moments because he was never sober since I
Oh,
was like
yeah.
15.
Yeah. Real moment.
Sober, like picked him up. He was still sweating. Like John, this didn't matter. Like I knew he wanted to be there for me and my son. And then he just fucking tailed off. And after like a couple weeks, he went back down the deep end. But to get those few moments with my father was like
Everything.
life changing. So,
Amazing, dude. Well, look,
and
I brought it up only because, I think you're a perfect example for your children, man. And I think that we're growing people, and you're leaning in the ways of being a better person every day. But it was very, very it was very good for me to meet you and come into, our friendship. And I'm happy that you've been able to probably share a very personal story with us today on the podcast, man. When I walked in, I thought we would touch on it. I didn't realize we'd go as deep as we did, but the fact that you were willing to be as vulnerable as you have been, you have no idea how much I appreciate it. But I promise you, Thomas, and we'll get a text message here and there for it, you have touched somebody who needed to hear it today. So I appreciate it. And you've taught me. I'm learning from you, man. And it means a lot to me that you were here today. So I appreciate it, dude. And I'm excited about, continuing to deepen our friendship through these events that we go to,
for
and
sure.
just our, messaging back and forth, and, our talks. So thank you, man, for being on today.
Yeah, dude, I'm grateful for you too. I'm learning from you. I mean, it's cool, and you live far as hell, bro. But we're like here, we're like digitally like
Yes.
here,
Yes.
And I respect it. I want to help people, dude. I'm not ashamed of what I went through. I grew from it.
I'm
I
glad.
talk about it openly. Some people don't. Me, I tell you, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That you could judge me, you cannot. If you're gonna judge me, you don't know me.
Agreed.
And then
Agreed.
we don't need to make the connection.
Agreed, man.
You
Agreed.
know,
But thank you for doing this today, man, and
oh,
I
dude, no
appreciate it. And
problem.
I wish you a very, very successful 2023. I know you're gonna crush it, brother.
Yeah, dude, I'm pumped, man. You too. And
Hell yeah, man.
let's stay in touch.
We will, Thomas. I appreciate it, man. And to your team who helped you get all this set up today, thank them as well.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys. We'll
All
talk
right,
soon,
thanks,
brother.
bro. Thanks, Chris. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.